Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jackie, and I'm the Director of Development with Jacksonville Speech and Hearing Center. This workshop is made possible by grant funding from the Kids Hope Alliance for our Tiny Talkers program. The Tiny Talkers program focuses on early intervention for speech and language delays and disorders. There are two main components to the program. The first is to provide our screening, evaluation, and therapy services to children where they are, at their preschools. The second is to educate parents and caregivers about speech and language delays or disorders so they are identified sooner and children receive encouragement and consistent reinforcement wherever they are. When you combine these two components, children that need therapy are more likely to be identified and have a better chance of entering kindergarten with the same knowledge and skills as their peers. At the end of this workshop, you will be given information on how to access a brief survey. This is an important part of refining our program to be as helpful as possible. It also helps the Kids Hope Alliance know that their funding was well placed. I encourage you to take a moment to follow those instructions and complete the survey. If you complete all 4 trainings and would like a certificate of completion, instructions will be provided for obtaining one at the end of the series.
Hello, my name is Lauren, and I'm a speech-language pathologist with Jacksonville Speech and Hearing Center. In this workshop, we're going to cover some communication disorder basics. Let's start with, what is a communication disorder? A communication disorder is an impairment of an individual's speech, language, or hearing. Speech-language pathologists, like myself, treat individuals that have speech and/or language concerns. For hearing concerns, we recommend you see a doctor of audiology. I work closely with a couple of audiologists at Jacksonville Speech and Hearing Center, and there are times when we will treat patients together. Now I want to dig into the difference between a speech disorder and a language disorder. We'll start with the speech. Speech refers to the way we make sounds and words. Believe it or not, there are 4 components we look at when we're talking about speech. There's articulation. That's the movement of our lips, our tongue, and our jaw to produce a sound. There's intelligibility. That's the percentage of words that are understandable when spoken. There's fluency. That's the rhythm of speech, including ease, effort, and flow. And then there's voice. This is the use of the vocal folds, also called vocal cords, and breathing that creates sounds. There's a lot that goes into our speech, isn't there? Each of those things affect our development in different ways. Impairments in any of those areas can cause a speech disorder. What we see most often falls into 2 main categories: speech sound disorders and fluency disorders. Speech sound disorders are things like articulation, phonology, and individual speech sounds. For example, missing a sound in a word or replacing it with another sound like tutti instead of cookie. Or an individual might make funny faces while attempting to determine the placement of their jaw, tongue, or lips, and the same word may be pronounced several different ways. It may also seem like they have little to no facial expressions. Fluency disorders are disruptions in a person's speech, also known as a stutter. A stutter can present in several different ways. For example, repeating all or part of the word, like ball, or having a long pause before saying a word like, yes, I love dogs. That covers the basics of speech sound disorders, which means it's time to move to language disorders. Language refers to the words we use to communicate. There are 4 components we're going to look at for language. There's semantics, what words mean. There's morphology, how to make new words. There's syntax, how to put words together, and then there's pragmatics, rules associated with the use of language in conversation. The American Speech, Language, and Hearing Association defines language as the comprehension and use of a spoken, written, or other symbolic system like American Sign Language. Spoken and written language have 2 categories, receptive and expressive. Receptive language is an individual's ability to understand or comprehend spoken or written language, where expressive language is an individual's ability to express or use spoken or written language. An individual can have both receptive and expressive language disorders. They can also have either one or the other. Difficulties with receptive language skills means that an individual might not understand what is being said to them. They might have trouble following directions and answering questions. They may not remember all the words in a sentence. Difficulties with expressive language skills mean that an individual may have trouble asking questions, naming objects, putting words together in sentences, learning songs and rhymes, using correct pronouns like he or they. They may also have trouble knowing how to start a conversation and keep it going, changing how they talk to different people and in different places. Some examples of this would be how you speak differently to an adult than a young child, and how you can talk louder outside than inside. Most of us know what use your inside voice means. We've covered a lot here. I'd like to review some of the big picture items. Communication disorders include speech, language, and hearing impairments. Speech and language disorders should be evaluated and treated by a licensed speech-language pathologist. Hearing disorders should be evaluated and treated by a licensed doctor of audiology. Speech is the way we make sounds and words, while language refers to the words we use to communicate. You can find more information about communication disorders and the services we provide at Jacksonville Speech and Hearing Center by visiting our website at shcjax.org or calling the office at 904-355-3403. That concludes this workshop. I hope you learned something new and helpful. This is part 1 of a 4-part series. In our other workshops, we cover the evaluation process, treatment options, and the role that the parents and caregivers play in supporting children's general communication development and speech-language disorder treatment. You can find links to those below, along with a link to the survey for this workshop. Please remember to take that survey so we can refine this program and continue to receive funding for it. Thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.